Story 1. I work night security at a nearly abandoned office building in northern Arizona. The kind of place where the lights hum louder than your thoughts, and every floor smells faintly of dust and old carpetsy. Lena, on January 3rd, just after midnight, my phone buzzed with a voicemail notification from my own number. I didn't think much of it at first, assuming it was a glitch or a pocket dial. But when I opened the voicemail, I heard myself breathing. Not talking, not moving, just breathing slowly, unevenly, like I was trying to stay quiet. In the background, there was a sound I recognized immediately, the low electronic chirp the motion sensors make when someone pauses them on the 5th floor. The problem was, I was sitting in the security booth on the ground floor, and according to the monitors, the 5th floor was empty. I replayed the voicemail 3 times, my stomach tightening each time I heard the breathing, because the longer I listened, the more I realized it wasn't matching my own. It paused in places where I wouldn't pause, hitched in a way that sounded strained, almost excited. I checked the timestamp again, to 17 a.m. At 17, I had been filling out an incident report and sipping cold coffee, fully visible on the lobby camera. I stood up and checked the stairwell monitor, then the elevator feed. Nothing. No movement. No doors opening. But the motion sensor log showed activity on the 5th floor at exactly the same moment the voicemail was recorded. Against my better judgment, I took the elevator up. As the doors opened on the 5th floor, the air felt wrong, thick and stale, like it hadn't been disturbed in years. My footsteps echoed too loudly, and I realized something else was off. The emergency lights were on, even though there was no power outage logged. Halfway down the hallway, my phone buzzed again. Another voicemail. Same number. Same timestamp style. I didn't listen to it right away. Instead, I noticed a faint wet sound coming from the end of the hall, like someone breathing through a mouthful of water. I turned the corner and saw one of the office doors standing open. Inside, the motion sensor was blinking red, and the room smelled metallic and sour. My phone buzzed again. When I finally pressed play, the voicemail was different. This time, I heard my own voice whispering my full name, slowly, carefully, like it was practicing how to say it. Then the whisper stopped, and something very close to the microphone inhaled sharply. I backed out of the room, my heart hammering so hard I could hear it over the hum of the lights. As I reached the elevator, the voicemail ended with a soft click, followed by a sound I recognized instantly: the elevator doors closing. But I was standing right in front of them, watching them remain open. I looked back down the hallway, and for a split second, I saw movement near the office door, a shape pulling itself back into the darkness. My phone buzzed one last time. No voicemail. Just a missed call from my own number. I quit that job the next morning. I changed my number, wiped my phone, and tried to forget about the 5th floor. But sometimes, usually just after midnight, my phone will buzz without lighting up. No call. No notification. Just a vibration, like someone testing to see if I'm listening. And every time it happens, I'm absolutely certain of one thing: whoever left those voicemails never left that building. Story 2. In late December, I was driving rideshare in a small town in Pennsylvania, working the overnight hours because the roads were quiet and the money was better. Round 3:40 a.m., I accepted a ride from a residential address at the edge of town. The app showed a single male passenger. No rating, no account. When I pulled up, he was already standing at the curb, facing away from the house. He got into the back seat without a word, and as soon as I started driving, I noticed something strange. He never touched the door handle, not when he got in, and not when he adjusted himself in the seat. I tried making small talk, asking if he was heading home or to work, but he didn't respond. In the rearview mirror, I could see his eyes fixed on the road ahead, unblinking. After a few minutes, I realized the navigation wasn't updating. It kept recalculating, looping the same turns over and over. I asked him to confirm the address, and this time he spoke. His voice was dry and flat, and he said, "Just keep driving until it feels right." The temperature inside the car dropped, so suddenly my breath fogged the windshield. As we drove, I noticed the houses thinning out, replaced by long stretches of trees. I was sure I hadn't taken any wrong turns, but nothing looked familiar anymore. I glanced back again, and for the first time, I noticed his hands. They were folded neatly in his lap, palms up, fingers slightly curled, like they were resting on an invisible surface. The skin looked tight, almost stretched, and there were dark lines running along his wrists, as if something had been wrapped there for a very long time. The app suddenly chimed, announcing that we had arrived at the destination. There was nothing there, no house, no driveway, just a narrow dirt road disappearing into the trees. I told him this wasn't a valid drop-off point. He leaned forward then, close enough that his breath brushed the back of my neck, and said, "It is for me." The car doors unlocked automatically, and I felt a wave of nausea as I realized I hadn't touched the button. He got out of the car the same way he got in, without touching the door, and stood there watching me. The moment he stepped away, the app updated again, showing the ride as completed and rated 5 stars from a user whose account no longer existed. I drove away as fast as I could, not stopping until I reached a gas station miles away. When I checked the back seat, there was a damp impression where he had been sitting, shaped like a body that had been submerged for too long. I reported the incident to the rideshare company, but they told me there was no record of the trip. No pickup, no passenger. Sometimes, when I drive past that edge of town late at night, my app will try to route me down that same dirt road, even when I'm offline. I always cancel immediately, because I know if I accept that ride again, I won't be the one deciding where it ends. Story 3. On New Year's Eve, I stayed home alone and decided to set up an old security camera I'd found in storage, thinking it might make me feel safer. I aimed it at my living room, plugged it in, and connected it to my laptop. The feed was grainy but clear enough. Around midnight, fireworks started popping in the distance, and I watched the empty room on my screen while the clock ticked closer to 2026. Nothing seemed wrong, until I noticed a slight delay between my movements and what the camera showed. At first, the delay was barely noticeable, maybe half a second. But as the night went on, it grew longer. By 12:30 a.m., the feed was almost a full minute behind. I waved at the camera and counted slowly. When the image finally caught up, my hand didn't glow the way it should have. On the screen, I was still waving, still smiling faintly, long after I had stopped in real life. I closed the laptop, my pulse racing, then opened it again, hoping it was just a glitch. The feed resumed, but now the delay was even worse. I watched myself stand up on the screen before I actually did. Then, on the screen, I turned and looked directly into the camera with an expression I wasn't making. It was too serious to focus. I sat frozen on the couch as the version of me on the screen walked closer to the camera, leaned in, and mouthed something I couldn't hear. I unplugged the camera, but the feed didn't stop. The timestamp on the screen changed, jumping forward by several minutes. The version of me on the screen straightened up and walked out of frame, heading toward the hallway that led to my bedroom. I was still sitting in the living room, afraid to move. Then I heard footsteps in the hall, perfectly matching the rhythm of the steps I was watching on the screen. The camera feed showed my bedroom door opening. The version of me stepped inside, turned off the light, and lay down on the bed. The timestamp rolled forward again. I realized with growing horror that the camera wasn't showing the present or the past, it was showing what was about to happen. I grabbed my keys and ran for the front door, my heart pounding as the feed showed my bedroom light turning back on. I spent the rest of the night in my car, watching the sun come up. When I finally returned home, the camera was unplugged, just like I'd left it, and the laptop was closed. On the bed, the sheets were warm, like someone had just gotten up. I threw the camera away that day, but sometimes, when I close my eyes at night, I see myself doing things I haven't done yet, and I'm terrified that one day I won't be able to change what I see coming.